Hello everyone, thank you for coming back for another online lesson. Today's topic is suitable for students who are preparing for grade 6 to 8 music theory exam on how to decorate your melody appropriately and also how to identify them when you are analyzing the music. I'll be sharing more useful tips for higher grades music theory in future, so please stay subscribed for more free theory lessons. Without further ado, let's start the lesson now. The first type of melodic decoration is called passing note. So this is the first type. For passing note, we have accented or unaccented passing note. It can be between two notes, they are third apart or more than 3 steps apart. For instance, when you are using the chord of C, E, G, it can be between two notes, they are C and E, or C and G, or more than or very far apart, G to E. It can be third, can be more than 3 steps, like C to G is more than 3 steps, or it can be E to G. So let's say this is a simple duple time. Between C and E, you can add a D. And when you add the passing note, make sure it's 1 step lower and 1 step higher. This passing note must be prepared by step and resolved by step. So the passing note is closely related to the note before and after. For instance, between C and G, you can add B and A. So this is a B. So before the B is a step, after that is a step, and we must all resolve by step. So they are all moving in stepwise movement. Okay, next, between G and E, you can add F. Between E and G, you can put F also. For extended passing note, you need to add this note. Add the stem to the right. Draw the stem and join it to the right. Because originally, this is the first beat and this is the second beat. But after you join this passing note here, in order to make this passing note to be accented, you join this stem to the right. Once you join it to the right, the second beat will no longer be here. Okay, this D notes at the main beat. So first beat is here, second beat is here. So this note is on the main beat. That's why we call this accented passing note. For unaccented passing note, you just need to join the stem to the left hand side. So the first and second beat remain at the same place. So this is the first beat, second beat. They remain unchanged. So these are all at a weak beat. That's why we call all this unaccented passing note. The next one, this F, you just need to join this F to the right. So originally, the G and E are at the main beat, but because of this F, the E is no longer at the main beat. The F replaced the notes at the main beat. So this F is on the main beat. That's why we call this accented passing note as a short form. Okay, next one, unaccented. You just need to join the F to the left, join it to the left hand side. So the first and second beat are at the original place. Next, let's look at chromatic passing note. Between C and D, is it possible to add passing note? The answer is yes, because if you look at the keyboard, between C and D, we have a black key. So between C and D, you can still insert a C sharp. Because the direction is going up, so we should use C sharp instead of D flat. So because we want to make this extended passing note, so we join this note to the right. So this becomes first and second. Okay, first beat, second beat. Okay, so this is the extended passing note. Next, what if I add between E and D? Between E and D. So between E and D, we have a black key here, which is E flat. So instead of D sharp, you should put E flat because E to D is going down. So the E flat, I use a red color because it represents passing note. And I want this to be at a weak beat, so I join it to the left side. So by joining to the left side, the main beat are still at the main note are still at the main beat. It doesn't affect the notes at the main beat. So this is called unaccented passing note. So that is the first one, first type. First type have another decoration is called auxiliary note. For auxiliary note is to be inserted between two notes that are repeated. Like C, E, G, you can between two notes, C and C, E and E. So when you are writing a melody, you decided not to skip from one note to another note, but you want to repeat certain notes, C to C, E to E. It can be G and G, or this lower E. So the auxiliary note has two types. One is lower auxiliary note, another one is upper auxiliary note. For the latest syllabus, the test paper will ask you to identify whether this is the lower or upper auxiliary note. So between C and C, if it's lower auxiliary note, it will be B. So this lower auxiliary note can join to the left or right. It doesn't matter whether it's accented or unaccented. Because the exam test paper, they will not ask you to identify whether this is accented or unaccented. So they will just ask you to identify whether it's a lower or upper auxiliary note. Next one, between E and E, it will be upper auxiliary note. So it will be E, F, E. So you can also, it doesn't matter you want to join left or right, or you join it as a triplets also can. It can be any combination. So the next one, we can talk about perhaps the chromatic auxiliary note. So between G and G, it can be F sharp. So G, F sharp, G. When there is accidentals and semitone apart, G to F sharp is semitone apart. So this is called chromatic auxiliary note. Chromatic auxiliary note. Okay, so between E and E, you can add F. So this one, you can also change the rhythmic pattern with one quiver to two semiquavers. Okay, so just now for chromatic auxiliary, we can also use chromatic passing note. For instance, just now when we talk about C to D, C, C sharp, D. So when you add accidental, C to C sharp is semitone apart, C sharp to D is semitone apart. We can also identify this as a chromatic passing note. So all this can happen during the exam. And so first type has passing note and auxiliary note. These two decorations are categorized under the first type because they are closely related to each other. This B is prepared by step and resolved by step. So you notice Under the first type, they are closely related to each other. So passing note under the first type. So this is a summary. Between C and E, the D is a passing note. So before the D is a step down, and after the D is a step up. So they are closely related to the note before and after them. So this is a chromatic passing note. This is another chromatic passing note. Auxiliary note also under the first type of decoration, because auxiliary note also prepared by step. See this auxiliary note. Before this is one step up, after that will be one step up also. So this is upper auxiliary note, step and step. So they prepare and resolve by step. Now let's look at the second type. Okay, Appoggiatura, I put it under second type because this is different from the first type. For Appoggiatura, this is unprepared. This is an unprepared decoration. It doesn't need to be prepared by steps. So for instance, if I want to add Appoggiatura in the upper part, soprano part, this is soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. If I want to add at the soprano part, the soprano note is an E. So the Appoggiatura that I add can be F to E or can be D to E, either one. So over here, I prefer to have F to replace the original note E. Okay, so when F replaces the note E will be delayed. The E is resolved later. So because the F replaced the E, so this F is a decoration, and this has to be at the main beat. The Appoggiatura that you add must be at the main beat. First of all, it must be at the main beat. Secondly, the purpose of adding this at the main beat is because we want to dislocate this chord. The E come back later. This we call it resolution, to resolve the E back. So you have C, C, E, G. Okay, by adding this Appoggiatura at the main beat, we dislocate the chords. So if you will see a dislocation of chords C, C, E, G like this. For instance, next one, if you want to add the Appoggiatura in alto part, it can be F to G. Instead of G at the main beat, I use the F to replace the G and the G delay. Okay, so this F here is considered a Appoggiatura, and the G come back later. So by doing this, you dislocate the chord like this. Okay, so this is your Appoggiatura, the F to G. Of course, you can also add A to G. So you just need to make sure you resolve the note by steps. Next one, the Appoggiatura can be at a tenor part. So instead of this C, you can put D to C. Okay, the Appoggiatura that you add can be D. And then C resolve later. Okay, so this is how it looks like when the chord is being dislocated. Okay. The last one at the bass. So the C delay. So I put the B and then C come back here. Okay, so this is how it looks like for Appoggiatura at the bass part. Okay, so this is second type Appoggiatura. For second type, there's another melodic decoration which is called changing note. Okay, so this the next one is changing note. Changing note is different from Appoggiatura, although it's also under the second type of melodic decoration. Changing note is to be put at a weak beat. Okay, let's do a summary. For Appoggiatura, it has to be at the main beat. Okay. And it dislocate the chord like this. Okay, this is what we say in the Appoggiatura that you add must be at the main beat. Now let's look at changing note now. For changing note, it must be at a weak beat. It can be between two notes, any two notes. They are more than third apart. Any distance, E to E. It can be also very far apart, like D to F, G to C. Okay, so this is a first beat, second beat, first beat, second beat. Let's say you want to have two counts in a bar. First count, second count. First count and second count. So between C to G, you can add the changing note as F. The reason why I add F, because for changing note, it has a nickname called escape note. For escape note, it looks like someone trying to escape from one building to another building. So this F, from C to F, is a skip. So if this person skip first, he must be able to skip to the note so that to help him to step up to another building. Okay, so you must be at a weak beat, so you must join to the left side. Okay, so if you start with skip, then you must resolve by step. Alternatively, you can also do step first. So for instance, if you want to step first, you can step up to D first, because if you step to D, then later on you will be able to skip. So for changing note, you need to be able to see this combination of step and skip. Okay. Now, how about E to E, the next example? If you want to step first, you can step to F and then to E. So this is step and then skip. So this is in same direction, okay? If you don't want to have same direction, you can also step to D first. You can step down to D, and then after that, you skip. Okay, as long as you can make a combination of step and skip, or alternatively, you can also skip first. You can skip to F, or you can skip to D. Okay. Just need to make sure you join this decoration to the left-hand side. So the next one between B and F, if you want to skip first, you can skip to G. So after skip, then you step. Next one is you can step first, just an example, and then you skip. Okay, so this second type of decoration is not so closely related to the note before and after, but there is a combination of step and skip. That's why I put this under the second type of melodic decoration. So this is the summary for changing note between two notes. Okay, so they must resolve with step and skip, or the other way around. So you will see skip and step, a combination of skip and step, or step and skip. Okay, so and this one has to be at a weak beat. So Appoggiatura must be at a main beat. So for changing note must be at a weak beat. Now let's look at the third type. Third type is called anticipation. This is to anticipate the next note. For instance, the original note is B and D. So in order to anticipate the note at the next bar, I bring this D forward. Okay, I add at the first bar, just to anticipate the D. So you notice this anticipation is the same as next note, because originally we don't have this, but in order to anticipate the next note, I add D here. This is your anticipation. Originally, you only have this and this, but in order to bring this D earlier to anticipate it. So I add D here. Okay. So this is called your anticipation. Okay, next one, between G and F. Originally, the F should be at the next bar, but in order to anticipate it, I add the F earlier. So this is our anticipation. Okay, so I anticipate the next note. So the anticipation must be the same as next note. Okay, same as the next note. First, second beat. In order to bring the second note earlier, I add anticipation here. Last one is subsidiary harmony note. So for subsidiary harmony note, this is the only decoration that must choose from the chord. For instance, from C to C, in the chord of C, E, G, between C and C, in order to smoothen up the melody, I add E and G. So you notice the distance between the notes keeps skipping. They are not closely related to the note before and after. So between D and B, I choose F is from the chord, or from B I skip to G. I also choose from the chord. So you notice the distance are not very close. Next one, it can also between two repeated notes. So G, and between G and G, I can add B and D. Okay, as a subsidiary harmony note. Now, this is under the third type because I noticed anticipation and subsidiary harmony note are not closely related to the note before and after them. Okay, now let's look at some example on the music score. And during exam, you may be given something like this, a piece of music, and then they ask you to analyze and identify what kind of melodic decoration is this. So let's look at the first one. Number one is written above this double note. So you circle this note. This number one is written above them. So it's referring to the note on top. So this is F. And you need to judge whether this F is prepared by step or resolved by step. Yes. So before this F is E. So it's a step. After this F also is a G. So it's prepared and resolved by step. So when you prepare and resolve by step means they are closely related to each other. So this will belong to first type. First type is here. Okay, they are closely related to each other. Now you need to ask yourself whether is this passing note or auxiliary note. So for passing note, they are between two notes. They are two different chord notes. So over here is between E and G. The F is between E and G. So this is a passing note. So in this case, you can name this unaccented passing note. Unaccented passing note, UPN. I use it as I use a short form to identify the answer. So number one is unaccented passing note. Because this is at a weak beat. Okay, the main beat is over here. Okay, let me explain how to identify mean and weak beat. So the main beat is here, 1, 2, 3. And this is located between the two notes at the main beat. So this is at a weak beat. When this is at a weak beat, you can say this is unaccented. Okay, number 2. So number 1 is unaccented passing note. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, I will circle in green color. It's referring to the upper note here. This is A. So this A is between G and G. Between G and G here. Okay, G and G. So it's between two repeated notes. Okay, so before the A is prepared by step, and after this A also prepared by step. So this is again under the first type and between two repeated notes. So this is the upper auxiliary note. Okay, so this is upper auxiliary note because it's between two repeated notes. Number 3. Number 3 is here. I circle the A. So this A is prepared by step and resolved by step. So you can call this first type because this is closely related to the notes before and after this. And you can say that this is on the main beat. So this A is 1, 2, 3. Is at the main beat, first beat of the bar. That's why we can call this passing note, accented passing note. So this is one of the possibility. Another possibility is you can see that this note is at the main beat. This A is at the main beat. At the same time, this note at the main beat has dislocated the note. Originally, the harmony should be E, E, G, and B. But because of this A, it dislocates the chords like this. So you can say that this A at the main beat cause the harmony to be dislocated. So you can also call this a Appoggiatura. Okay, so this one can have two answers: extended passing note or Appoggiatura. Okay, let's look at the number 4. Question number 4. So I will circle this number 4 here, the note above here. So this is a B. And this note, is it prepared by step? No, it's not prepared by step. So this cannot be first type because first type must be prepared by step. This one is not prepared by step. Okay, let's move on to the second type. For second type of melodic decoration, if you remember what I shared with you just now, one is at the main beat, which is the Appoggiatura. One is at the main beat. The other one is at a weak beat. So this note that you see here is at a main beat. So let's assume this to be Appoggiatura first, because Appoggiatura is at a main beat. Okay, so if this is at a main beat, secondly, you need to check whether this chord has dislocated the harmony. And if you name the note, you notice this is A, C, and E. Okay, the chord A, C, E is being dislocated. So you can call this a Appoggiatura because first it's at the main beat, secondly it dislocates the chord. So this number 4 is an Appoggiatura. For number 5, I circle it in red color. Number 5 is here. This is an A. Number 5 is A note. So this A is, before the A is a skip, because F to A is not by step, it's a skip. So after A is a step. So when you have a combination of skip and step, this will not be first type. Let's look at the second type. For a second type, if there's a combination of skip and step, that will be a changing note. And changing note needs to be at a weak beat also. So first of all, this is at a weak beat. And you will see a skip and step combination. That's why I call this a changing note. So question number 5 is changing note. So this is a changing note. Number 6, I circle in blue. Okay, before this, B to D is a skip. Then after this, it's also a skip. So this note is prepared by skip and skip. After this, also a skip. So skip and skip. Let's look at the summary. It's definitely not a second type because second type have a combination of skip and step. So it cannot be a second type. So let's look at the third type. Third type, which one has combination of skip, skip, skip? So you notice this one, subsidiary harmony note. This is the only one that keeps skipping, and they are not closely related to the note before and after. So number 6, I will call this subsidiary harmony note. Okay, I use a short form because not enough space. Number 7, I circle this. Is above these two notes. So it's referring, the number 7 is referring to the D. So look at the note before the D. Okay, it's a skip, it's not a step. So after this is a step. So when there's a skip and step, it's definitely not first type. Okay, now let's look at the second type. When you come to second type, you need to consider whether this is a main or weak beat. Main or weak beat. And this note is at the main beat. Okay, since this is at a main beat, we can assume this to be Appoggiatura first. And after you assume this to be Appoggiatura, you need to check whether it dislocate the harmony. Okay, you can see this is a F, C, and E. It dislocate the harmony. So the number 7 is an Appoggiatura. So over here, I call this Appoggiatura. Number 8 is referring to the note above here. This note on top. So before this G is not by step, but after that is a step. Okay, so this is not by step, but G to A is by step. So if this one is not prepared by step, that means this is not under the first type. Now let's look at the second type. When you come to second type, you need to decide whether this note is at the main or weak beat. So this note is at the main beat. If this is at the main beat, we can assume this to be a Appoggiatura first. And after that, you need to check whether this dislocate the chord. You see, you have B, F, and A. So B, D, F, A. So it dislocate the chord B, D, F, A. That's why I can say that this is an Appoggiatura. So number 8 is an Appoggiatura. Okay, let's look at another example. Okay, for this page, number 1. Okay, I circle this note number 1. And this note number 1 is not prepared by step. It's a skip. But the note that comes after this is also a D. Okay, can you remember when I say when this note is the same as the next note? Okay, this decoration same as the next note. That means you bring the next D forward, bring it earlier. So when you bring it early, means you anticipate the next note. So number 1, you can call this an anticipation. Okay, so number 1 is anticipation. Let's look at another example of anticipation, like number 14. This 14 is the same as the next note. It must be the same as next note because you anticipate the next note. So the number 14, I can identify as anticipation also. Okay, so that's all about the melodic decoration. These are just basic skills to identify the melodic decoration. I hope you find it useful, and don't forget to subscribe, and look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.